Okay, everything's rolling. Elsa, thank you so much for joining us today. You are our first guinea pig in, not the first one that we're filming, but the first one with all our new toys. So,
Bye, thank you. I'm privileged.
great.
Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, and it would be lovely for us to hear about Elsa, what you do, and please tell us. Please introduce yourself, Elsa.
Okay, yes, thank you for having me. I'm Elsa Muller. I'm Variety Development Manager from SAPO Trust. So my journey in agriculture, well, it started a long time ago, but in 2009, my journey started at SAPO, or with SAPO. I started as a technician in the production side. And then 10 years later, in 2019, I moved to Fall Creek International Company in blueberries. Was the perfect time to make the move, learned a lot, was good for me. But then in 2023, I actually went back to SAPO, and that's where I am now as Variety Development Manager. And I was very privileged to have a lot of great mentors along the way, and I think the decision to move back to SAPO was just at the right time, the right place, and SAPO is like family. We look out for each other. It's an amazing place to work for. Never a dull moment. If I tell you a little bit about SAPO, SAPO is a plant improvement organization in South Africa. Our main focus is plant improvement, production of plant material, and variety management. So we don't have our own genetics. We manage IP owners' genetics. So it's quite interesting. It's a very interesting field to be in. We have more than 70 IP owners, some local, some international. We work with stone fruit, pome fruit, table grapes, wine grapes, strawberries, so a very big range of different crops. We do different services for the IP owners.
How many did you say?
More than 70.
70, okay.
70
so
IP owners,
okay.
But all of them have different varieties. So some we manage 20 varieties, some we do only one, some of them we only do services for. So we have a big range of services that we supply to the South African industry. So we are open to only do imports, to only import the variety, and then some IP owners manage the variety in South Africa on their own terms, or we do the full variety management for them.
So those people you manage for, they are the breeders who develop.
Some are breeders, and some are like us. Internationally, they source they manage the varieties, and then they would like us to manage it for them in South Africa. And then some are breeders.
Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
So it's interesting. So for us, it's nice to go abroad and look at different varieties, attend expos, work with a big range of the networks that we know to see which varieties have the potential to work in the South African industry. Of course, not all of them do work. We import them. Then it has to go through quarantine first. So that takes a long time. It can take up to 2 years to go through quarantine. And then if the variety is released, we receive plant material. We are part of the plant improvement scheme. So then we establish a source in our nucleus tunnels. That's in Stellenbosch. And then normally it goes out in different trial sites to start to evaluate it. Okay. And then we have service providers that we work very closely with in the industry, like Provar. They do independent evaluation. So they evaluate the varieties for us and give feedback on how they adjust in South Africa.
Okay.
Elsa, so thanks for that explanation. Tell us a little bit more about SAPO. Is it a commercial entity or is it owned by growers? What is the setup there? I mean, I know, but I think it's important that you explain a bit.
So SAPO, it's SAPO Trust. It's owned by the different industries, Pome, Pome, Ordgrow Stone, table crepes industry, and raisins, and also the EPFE, canning industry.
Okay, thank you for that. All right.
EPFE, what does EPFE stand for? I know it's Afrikaans abbreviation.
Ja, inmaak.
Maar vruchtenproducenten.
Center.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good guess. so Canning Producers Association.
Association,
Okay,
yes.
here we go. All right.
How big is the canning industry still?
Unfortunately, the canning industry is not that big anymore. They are going through their own struggles. I think the South African industry in general, we are all going through the same struggles. It's there's not a lot of plantings at the moment. We've had challenges like drought, COVID, our logistics. So that all has taken its toll on the industry. But I think things are turning. You can see there's a lot of interest from the industry to look at new varieties, to see what's going on. So I believe
In terms of canning?
In terms of general in planting, canning, not that much.
It's something that we always hear about people doing canning and drying, but we don't work often in that area.
I think the canning industry, one of the problems, and interesting to hear what you have to say, Elsa, is that canning they normally use a lot of sugar.
They do.
Yes.
So not only is it expensive, there's the sugar tax as well, and the people are less keen to eat such sugary things. So, and I know
Bloody
that
nice.
A lot of people.
Of course, it's nice.
I
But
think people
it's one of
prefer.
those things.
Yeah, they prefer fresh fruit, and also fruit that's seasonal, that's available in season.
Does dry fruit falls under that, if I'm correct? Under the canning part?
On canning part, yeah.
Okay.
So, and it's more to Klein Karoo area.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more into dry and some canning.
And also the raisins from upcountry and
Yeah, the raisin industry is actually
Yes.
doing really good. The prices was good. They are growing, yeah. There's a lot of interest for raisins on the raisin
I heard
side.
they spiked, the raisin sales, the raisin prices spiked like crazy during COVID because people were looking for a healthy snack.
A healthy snack.
And because so many more people were at home and they were baking and they wanted raisins to bake with. So, you just never know what the fortunes of things are. Now, who would have ever put that whole train of, consequences together?
who would have thought that toilet paper will sell out?
I know, and garlic and blueberries and what was the...
Ginger?
And ginger. Yeah, everyone wanted the antioxidants.
Yes.
Now, do you guys work with any of those things or only fruit?
No, only deciduous fruit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what trends are you seeing? What is becoming very popular? If you can comment on anything like that? Like, is it labor friendly? Is that a big trend? And weather resistant? And
Or early.
Early. And people are talking a lot about climate change, things that cope with quite severe weather incidents and stuff like that. So, are there any trends you can see?
Well, I think for our industry, there's a big need for low-chill stone fruit as well. So for a lot of areas that will be adaptable. If you see South Africa has a big range of different pockets with different climates. So if you look at the high-chill climates, it's more typical to Kouwboekenveld, and that will be your traditional apple areas. But there's some new interesting strawberries coming in, strawberries that comes in that will be adaptable to some of those not traditional strawberry areas, but there's also some cherries coming in that originally cherries is always picked before Christmas, and they are finished before the gala season starts. But now there's cherries coming in that will be harvested from January up until March.
Oh, wow.
And that will be something new, and that will be for the higher chilled areas. And normally they don't have cherries in that time of the year. So that will be, I think, definitely a niche. It won't be large amounts that will be planted, but because it will still be area specific, but that will be a new trend that comes in. Now if you see the cherries in Woolworths, for example, those are all imported because there's nothing fresh.
At the moment.
Well, even in that time of the year.
But which time? That very late season for us. Now those guys are going to swear at us because now they're not going to have December holiday anymore.
I know.
But in which bracket, which countries are looking for cherries at that time of the year?
Well, for us, if we export, it will still go to. For us, normally we do really well with cherries because we come in early in the market before chili comes in, and that's when our gap is. But I think locally that we'll have a big gap to supply locally if we can do later. Internationally, we'll have to see where we can send the cherries to that time of the year because that's. Yeah, I think some of the traditional cherry areas will also be picking. So,
interestingly, also please comment, is that cherries are one of the fruit that we grow in our country that we sell almost more locally than we do export. Let's put it this way: there's a very large local sale on cherries, far bigger than you would imagine. Which, like with the other fruits, the exports are far bigger. And I think the cherry farmers have done a very good job of exploiting and developing the local market. So if there are cherries available in mid to late summer, that would be very cool. And I would imagine that would just continue. You know, that market would be able to continue. The market window will be bigger and run into that time. So that, yeah, what do you have any?
I think it will just be, there will be a lot of other opportunities to look at. Yeah, so we're not used to having cherries that time of year. So I think there will be more doors opening if we can be able to supply bigger volumes.
And it's actually quite remarkable. If you go back 30 years, South Africa, the only cherries you got were glacé cherries. And now we are used to eating cherries. So it's a completely new fruit that's been introduced to us as a fresh fruit, and now it's going to be available for longer. So that is the value of developing new, like the low chill stuff and things that we never had before. Equally, blueberries.
And strawberries, because I know you spoke about that. Didn't you send me an article like earlier this week that strawberry exports from South Africa doubled in the last?
I think that we were not really known for our strawberry exports, but I think we are exporting strawberries now.
We have started to export strawberries. I haven't seen that article, but
I'm looking for it now.
But it was definitely always more a local crop that we supply.
Yes,
and a winter crop. We plant it in winter and then before summer starts being done.
So what else are you seeing that's interesting?
So for me, or the thing that's probably thing that I always find interesting in our industry, and the thing that I actually probably did spend a lot of my time in was mutations. It's when I started at SAPO in 2009, I worked a lot on Gala mutations. And then we started with Royal Butte. It's a Gala mutation from Robert Zolt. And even its PBR, plant breeders' right, expired. It normally expires after 25 years. And it's still one of the varieties that there's a big demand for. So Royal Butte mutation is, as I say, a mutation, and with mutations, it tend to sometimes be unstable. And so it likes to divert back to its original mother. And with Royal Butte, SAPO has done a lot of work in monitoring the blocks where the material comes from, where we supply, and doing selections within those blocks to upgrade the variety and to see if we can get a more stable strain. And now we've registered a trademark with Robert Zulch, RYB Select. So Royal Beauty is trademarked now.
Oh.
And for us, that's a new thing, and we're very excited about it. So all the material will only now be cut in autumn. So with apples, you can cut budwood traditionally in autumn or in winter, dormant budwood, and then you make trees of it. But with RYB Select, we will only cut it in autumn so that fruit is present, and we can actually see where we cut the budwood, and we can make the selections while there's fruit on the tree.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's I love working with mutations. It keeps you very humble. You think that you have the answers, and then as soon as you see fruit, then you know that you have to go back to the drawing board. But so we have a few success stories. We work very closely with Bix as well from
Yes.
Big Bucks.
We've had Bix and Ink on one of the podcasts.
Yeah.
Yes.
And interesting thing, they said that you'll notice a mutation in the bin coming into the pack house that looks totally different than you think. And obviously, you can go to that block because of the traceability, but to go where are you going to find that tree because there's no fruit left on it.
I know. So
And then the pruners come through and they cut the
budwood away.
Exactly.
So normally, so in season SAPO and I think some of the other plant improvement organizations, we get a lot of inquiries from growers that will phone you and tell you, I think I have a mutation. So Pome fruit throws out a lot of mutations. So a grower will phone, they'll tell you they have a mutation. So normally then one of our technicians will go out, we'll mark the tree, and then unfortunately we'll tell the grower, okay, now we have to wait another year. We'll monitor it, and then we'll see the fruit, we'll come and see the fruit next year. And if it still looks the same, or what we've seen now, then we'll cut budwood, and then we'll start making trees. But then if you bud it then, the trees will only be available the year after, and then you'll wait another 3 years to actually see fruit.
If it was actually a mutation.
And if it actually was a mutation, and if it does not divert back.
We were on a mango farm in Clanwilliam, and the guy said, I can't remember his name is on my phone. I can find it, but he said that he got a phone call from one of the dominees from Vredendaal, I think he said, and he said, well, I know you farm with mangoes, but I saw something interesting. I went to visit an old lady, and she had fresh mangoes on the table. And he said, well, where are they from? He said, well, from my tree in my backyard. And this was like in June.
Wow, okay.
So he said, can't be. So he phoned this guy. They went to look, and it ended up being
A mutation
they suspect it's a cross
it's okay.
because they cross-pollinate. So they suspect that it was a cross. She bought the tree from a nursery, like a Stodels or something like that, which they're not going to trade in registered stuff. So something must have slipped in somewhere. She planted in the garden, and he has registered that under his a variety to his name.
So it's the complete curveball magic, the mutation thing, and that's nature just playing around. Exactly. And as you say, it looks very exciting, and then she pulls the plug.
Yeah, exactly. So that's mutations. It's a very interesting way of nature playing around and genetics. So
I think here's a question that the people that might be listening that might have these kind of things. What should they look for in a mutation, firstly? And then if they find one and they go through this whole process and it could be a 10-year process by the looks of things, can they make legit money with it?
Well, it depends. It's like with any variety. If there's a need for that window, for the harvesting window, that's always important. We have a lot of if we see a lot of varieties, then it's all smack bam in the exact same window, and then the one really has to be better than the other one to stand out. And what makes the variety different than something else that's in the same window? Does it color better? Does it has more stripes? Is it a bicolor? Or is it a yellow? And then for South African industry, storage life, can it travel? We sometimes find amazing varieties, and then it tastes really good on tasting trials. It looks good, but then as soon as we look at storage life, it has no legs, and then you can try to push it into the local market, but then it's that.
And what about varieties, like, I know there's certain table grapes and things like that that do well because they don't have a shelf life. They do well in countries where you can, let's say you take that thing and you, for instance, if it's a stone fruit, you go market it to Californian growers and let them grow it there.
Yeah, so then you just, I think, as long as you know the characteristics of the variety and the restrictions of the variety, you can try to manage it. But you first have to know all of that.
And then can they make money? Should it work?
And then they can see if they can. If they have I always say, make sure you have a house for your fruit, because if you don't know where your fruit is going, then you won't be able to make money. You can have big volumes of fruit, but where do you take it? Yeah.
So if you look at SAPO, if you look at all the 70 different breeders that you manage, the products that they manage, what is the biggest category that SAPO manages? Kind of give us some idea of the mixed bag of fruit. What is in that bag? How is it weighted? Have you got more apples or more stone fruit? Or just give us some idea of what's in the bag.
We do manage a lot of pome fruit varieties, a lot of apple varieties. My one colleague, she is responsible to do our imports, and I remember that last year I told her that I have this amazing new apple varieties that I think we should look at, and she said, "Oh, not an apple again." But you never know. There's sometimes you are interested in a variety from an IP owner, but when you ask them, or when you start negotiating so that the variety can come into the country and we can manage it, there's some varieties that's part of the package. You have to take all the brothers and sisters and monitor them as well. So we do have a lot of apple or pome fruit varieties, not much pears. We are open for new pear varieties as well, but at the moment we don't have a lot of pears. Then we do manage a lot of rootstocks as well. We have pome fruit rootstocks that we do manage. And then there's some stone fruit varieties. We have stone fruit varieties from Europe. Then we have from Mexico, that's more the local as well. And then table grapes and a little bit of wine grapes. So more pome fruit.
Your passion certainly shows. Now, I don't want this to sound like me asking a mother to choose her favorite children.
Yeah.
But are there any like real shining stars that you guys are managing? Do you want to mention any? Are you allowed to mention any?
Last year, I actually had the same question at Prova's Cultivar Day. They have one in September. They said, but if I can come and talk about varieties. And that was exactly my answer to them. You can't ask a mother to tell you which of her children is
So
her favorite.
that was a good preamble.
Yeah. So we do have a lot of shining stars and some upcoming ones as well, but it's difficult to say the one is my favorite.
But you guys do Sunworld, if I'm correct?
Yes, we manage Sunworld varieties as well. We do the table grapes and the stone fruit, but we do not have exclusivity for the Sunworld. There's other plant improvement organizations that manages it as well.
Oh, okay.
Or is in the process, yeah.
I saw recently that Cheeky has been approved for breeding in Australia. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So that's also very good news for the South African industry.
That is very good news. It's Cheeky is a Coldefco variety.
Yes.
Managed by SAPO. Yeah. We work very closely with Coldefco.
Yes, because I saw the photograph and it said SAPO's very excited to see that this is happening. So tell us, SAPO's existed for how long, approximately?
Over 40 years.
Okay, so the arrival of Provar, that's probably been of some help to you guys? How do you work together? How does that relationship work?
So way back, like when I started at SAPO and before that, SAPO did evaluation of their varieties on their own. We had a evaluation department. And then I think the industry and Ivan saw the need for an independent evaluation body. And for us, that's very positive. We work very closely with Provar. They do amazing work. For us, Provar is a good partner to work with. We don't do evaluation anymore. We like the independent evaluation done by Provar. For us, it's nice for our IP owners as well. We give them a full scientific report of their varieties. And especially on the rootstock evaluation side, I can't ask for anything better. They're doing amazing work. It's good to work with them. A rootstock evaluation can take up to from 8 to 10 years. So it takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of time that goes into it. I know Provar is offering a new service, screening, so then they can look at, for example, the rootstocks without putting it into an eight-year evaluation period, a shorter period. I think it's 4 years. And then they can start giving you data, so that for us it's important because then we can make decisions with that data. We can start giving that decisions to growers, to nurseries, because without that, of course, there's the data available that you do get from the IP owner, but everything reacts differently in different areas. So it's good to have that data and to supply the industry with that to make more informed decisions.
Interesting. I didn't know you got IP rootstocks.
Yes, you got different rootstocks.
Interesting. I know you get different ones, but I didn't know there was ones with IP on them as well.
Yes, we do have the Geneva rootstocks. It's apple rootstocks and there's a range of different ones within the Genevas that for different Dorthing rootstock or more vigorous or resisting, and it's managed by its breeding programs that breed the different rootstocks.
So
there's IP on it.
How does that work? I'm asking this because I'm curious, and if you can't answer or not allowed to answer, you are welcome to not do so. A grower will pay a royalty on a tree. Do they then pay a royalty on that rootstock as well?
Yeah, so every variety or every rootstock have a different agreement on different royalty structure. So depending on the agreement with the IP owner, the royalty structure is put in place. But yes, you do have some royalties are only on the variety. So then you have a tree royalty, that's per variety. and then you can have a production royalty that's connected to the fruit, but you have a rootstock, and then there's rootstocks that have a rootstock royalty as well. So for example, then you pay a royalty for the variety, and then you pay a royalty per rootstock, and then production royalty. So it can get very expensive.
Okay, you don't have to mention names, but how much could it be on, let's say, an apple tree? What's the most expensive you've seen when you combine all of these three things together per tree?
A royalty base.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to put exact on it, because some, for example, you can get varieties that has 9 to 10 rand royalty on them. Then it's just for the royalty, the tree royalty. Then the rootstock can be connected to a percentage of the tree. So for example, if the tree is 100 rand and you have to pay 20% royalty on the tree for the for the privilege to work with the rootstock, then you have a 20 rand of that 100 rand on for the royalty of the rootstock.
And that's per year?
And that's per year. No, that's a tree royalty. So that will only be a once-off. Yeah.
Okay, when they plant the tree.
When they plant the tree.
And then
the production royalty is connected to the fruit. So that will be with how you declare the amount of fruit, but you can have a production royalty that's connected to the fruit, or a hectare royalty that you pay yearly.
And how do you guys manage that? Because it sounds like a lot of maths to me.
It's a lot of administration. So of course, all your agreements have to be in place.
And legal agreements as well.
Legal agreements. So I'm not a IP lawyer. We manage the varieties for IP clients, but we work with IP lawyers very closely to assist us in drafting the agreements. And then the IP owner will agree on the terms, and then we put agreements in place that has to go to the nurseries. We have nursery agreements, and then we have grower agreements as well. So it's a lot of administration. And then normally, yearly, we declare all of that to the IP owner. We'll declare how many went out, and then we'll pay over the royalties.
So what can happen if I rock up on one of these farms with these new varieties, and I say, oh, I like this, I want it in my garden. Can I cut?
No,
can I make a cutting?
Please don't. So
I'm asking this because on Facebook. There's quite a number of gardening groups.
I know those
and
posts gives me goosebumps every time I see it, because then normally I go and visit the site to see actually what the varieties are that they are advertising. And I think that's every IP manager or variety manager's nightmare, to go onto those websites and see one of your varieties. But normally when a grower plants a managed variety or protected variety, a non-propagation agreement is sent out with each variety. So then in this agreement, you agree that you won't cut budwood and make your own trees of it.
But it could slip through.
But it can. It can.
Take for instance, it's now snow time.
I know. It's
snow time in Ceres, where the whole of Cape Town is going to be next to the roads.
Don't give people ideas.
I know, but
hopefully they're not listening to us.
It's very uncomfortable conversations that's happening normally after that. So then we normally visit. Sometimes a lot of people. I don't think people are malicious. They're not aware.
Just don't know.
They don't know. And then you go to this Huistein nurseries and you want to go and buy some nice trees. And you don't know where, or you don't even ask the question where the trees are, where the material comes from.
They just say, well, it's an apple tree.
Exactly. So if we see nurseries advertising varieties on the website, and if we see it's varieties that is some our varieties, we contact them. Then it's like almost an investigation. We want to know the traceability of where the material comes from, where did you get it, and So there goes a lot of work into it, but we try to manage it and give people information and make them more aware of actually saying that these are managed varieties. You can't just go and...
That's the thing on those Facebook groups. I remember Sweet Sapphire grapes, those long black ones. Somebody posted a photo of them once, and it was like a flood that just opened. And people, where can I get some of this? Can I get a cutting? And it's like 99% of the people posting there and asking the questions, they just don't know.
They don't know.
I know. So, and the thing is, we do get a lot of inquiries because, so legally, if you apply for plant breeders' rights, then the variety is protected for 25 years under plant breeders' rights. So a lot of people that's legal side of it, but there's growers or people that will contact us and say, oh, I think I've heard that the PBR has expired for this variety. So it's open. Can we start multiplying? And the thing is, the tricky part about it is you don't know what stands in the agreement. A lot of agreements is written that even if the plant breeder's right expires, it's still protected under the agreement, and or copyright. A trademark or whatever. So you can't just assume that it's open now. I personally hate the word open because there's not really a lot of varieties that's just open. A lot of them are still managed and protected.
So I have a question. We're talking a lot now about cost and money and all that kind of thing. I think a different way of looking at this is value. And if you were to go back and look at the varieties, or like apples, what they looked like 100 years ago, peaches, what they looked like 100 years ago, and all these things, if you go back and you look what was available, if you think about the millions of hours and the incredible time spent, and the fruit that we take for granted and we get in our markets today, it really, really is streets ahead of what people knew as those types of fruit. So, I mean, the value of the breeding and the eventual IP on those things is quite considerable. And just anecdotally, I'll tell you where I kind of came to this. Dewald and I attended the Hort Grow Open Day at the tissue culture facility. And Prova was there, and they were doing a tasting of all the different fruits, and it was stone fruit season, and it was remarkable to see those little flat peaches that are around.
We actually saw them the first time in California.
That's
the year
right.
Before.
That's right. But we saw them here, and it's such a simple thing to like the square peg in the round hole thing. Now try and go and put a peach in a child's lunchbox, but suddenly you've got this flat little dinky peach that you can fit into a flat lunchbox next to the sandwich, and it's like, where would somebody have thought about that 50 years ago? So I think there's a massive value to the kind of time spent on breeding these things and developing them, and then, as we said, all the other properties, the different marketing windows, the different how resistant they are to certain diseases or weather or whatever. So there's massive value in what you're doing. And I mean, we can hear that you love what you're doing. So I'd love to hear your take on that.
I think there's a lot. We, as variety managers, we do get a lot of questions about royalties. Why do I have to pay royalties? Or the royalties it's so expensive. But the royalties actually, as you mentioned, there's a lot of work that behind the scenes that goes into breeding, and that's things. It takes a long time and money, and the royalties connected to the varieties is actually just a way of. It just goes back to the breeder for all the time spent, because with all maybe there's out of 100 varieties they planted out, only one that maybe one that's actually going to make it. So I don't think the consumer, if they buy things in the supermarket, really knows what's the time that actually goes into the varieties to get it up to actually buying the fruit stage. So there's, it's amazing to see all the varieties that we're exposed to. We get children apples that can fit in the lunch boxes, things with different flavors. I don't like it if I eat a grape that actually tastes like cotton candy or something. It's just in my head, it shouldn't be like that.
It's only the first two. After that, they're all sweet.
They're all sweet. But yes, there's a lot of time and work that goes into it. And I think there's just an educational thing that we should educate the market to actually tell them this is why there's a royalty connected to the varieties. So
I think it's very important, and I think that is something, it's a job, I don't know whose job it is, but it's a job that should be done because people have no idea. I mean, okay, I'm going to use an example. You drive down the road in early summer, early to midsummer, and everybody with any grapes that is a hawker selling next to the road has a sign up that says what? Hanepoort. And I mean, really? Hanepoort is a wine grape that no one has seen for a very, very long time.
It's still there.
Yeah, but it's not very common. And everybody that comes from other parts of the country or doesn't know any better, they think they're buying Hanepoort. And the chances of them buying Hanepoort are very slim.
Hanepoort with no seeds.
Yes, yes. So the whole education of what you're actually eating, I think is very important. And it's a job that needs to be done.
So I have a 3-year-old son, and during season, if I give him an apple or a stone fruit variety, I'll tell him what the variety name is. And I've been doing that since he can just barely started talking. And then my husband said, "Why are you doing that? You're confusing him. Just tell him that it's a red apple or a green apple." And I said, "No, I would like him to know the different varieties."
It's called in-house education.
Exactly. So I think it's just more awareness.
I completely agree.
To start educating people to actually tell them there's different varieties.
Yes.
So on that very particular, I'm the same because we work with it. I go into shop, I look at what's there and where it's from, and I'm not going to buy grapes from Egypt or because they are not as nice as ours. Anyway, so when you meet people for the first time that don't know what you do, and what do you tell them? I always use the analogy, if you're standing around a braai and you meet people for the first time and they go, "Who are you? What do you do? Who are you? What do you do?" What do you tell them? And what do they say?
Firstly, it's always, for me, it's, if my sisters are with me, it's always interesting to first listen to see what they are saying, what I'm doing, because sometimes it's not exactly what I'm doing. But,
what's the worst you've had?
I think when I started, they weren't really sure what I'm doing, and while I was working in production, a technician, so working with quality control and cutting the budwood on the budwood side. So I think the one time I heard someone saying, "They're not sure my Elsa slice stokkies of these."
She cuts wood.
Yeah, basically. Okay. So I was like, "No."
So you're a woodcutter.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I'm doing. But yeah, I think the easiest to explain is that I work for a plant improvement organization, and we manage varieties, IP owners' varieties, and that's without going into detail. But then a lot of people will say, "Okay, but what's varieties? What's IP?" What's IP? So we don't have, so it can get a very long conversation, but it is, it's interesting to hear the feedback, because I think in my head, you assume that people know what it is and what you're talking about. And we had so SAPO is very open to provide information and education. I'm always very prone to invite the university or study groups to actually visit SAPO so that we can tell them what's plant improvement and what we're doing. And we had a nice group about 2 weeks ago, and they were from the university. So we explained them, we gave them a bit of information on plant improvement and what SAPO is for and what we do. And it was really amazing to get the feedback, because it was a really nice group of young people. And as soon as we started talking and explaining what we were doing, there was a lot of interest and good questions. And a lot of them didn't even know that we existed. So it's good to have those young people that's interested, and because if you start your studies and you're in agriculture, normally there's just a few directions that everyone goes into, but there's a lot of opportunities within agriculture, a lot of work opportunities.
I think what you're saying is, when you work in the agricultural sector, you've been with SAPO for a long time. We have an idea of what SAPO is. But people who've got no idea, they just genuinely have no idea. And as I was mentioning earlier, and we discussed that the fruits that we have today, these incredible fruit, that all this IP and years of research go on it, if you could show people this is what we have today, and this is what what does a peach look like today, and what did peaches look like 50 years, and that you actually have to go and do the show and tell. Show this is where we come from, and this is what we've got now. Because how else will you show them this is valuable unless you show them the balance?
I like to show them the example of, we touched on the mutation side,
yes,
and the upgrading of varieties and what we do. So if you work with mutations and selections, and SAPO is there for upgrading varieties, so we walk a lot of blocks to cut the base quality budwood closest to the fruit. So then we take fruit and photos of, even not that long ago, 5 years ago, compare them to the fruit of the new generation that we have, and that there's a big difference. So then that's plant improvement, it's upgrading of varieties. It's the same variety, it's the same genetics, it's just better selections.
It takes a long time, but the results can be very well.
The results.
So if you can show people that, it would be very cool. And if you look down the road for yourself and your time with SAPO, what do you see? Do you see yourself staying there? Are you excited about staying with SAPO? You love what you do?
I think it's difficult to say exactly, because none of us know where we're going to be in 6 months or a year from now. But I do really love what I'm doing, and I do feel when I came back last year, and my first day back, I just said, you get the feeling, and I know this is where I should be for now. So I don't have any plans to go anywhere now, but I'm always saying that I am open for opportunities as well, but I do believe this is where I should be for now. So yeah, SAPO is a good place. It's family.
Good, and it's important for our consumers.
And
SAPO
producers.
Producers,
SAPO
of course, yes.
is important for the South African industry.
Yes.
So on South African industry, on that topic, so is there anything happening in Southern Africa that you guys are involved with?
No, not really. Not at the moment. I do think there's a lot of development. We do get a lot of inquiries, but we're not directly involved.
Would SAPO do something like that? Let's say somebody from Namibia phones down and says, we want to plant...
have growers in Namibia that do plant. I always feel Namibia is so part of us. My husband's actually from Namibia.
Okay.
But yes, we do have growers in Namibia that do table grapes, and some even from the local apple varieties. So there's definitely developments, and we do have a lot of inquiries as well. We have some inquiries from Zimbabwe from time to time as well. But with all of that, we always check with the IP owner if they feel comfortable sending their plant material to different countries as well.
And on expanding the range at SAPO offers, because now I don't see citrus on the list and I don't see like subtropical fruit on the list. Is there any plans on expanding in that way?
As I said, we offer a big range of services. So if someone from the citrus or any other industry contacts us and they would like us to do services for them, we're definitely open for it. We don't have our own nursery. So we manage plant material, and we have nurseries that we work very close with. We can manage any crop variety depending on what the IP owner requires from us. If it's just the import, we are open to the import. We do applications for plant breeders' rights, variety listing, or even just administration services. If an IP owner requires us to manage the administration side of the royalty collections, etc., we can also do that. So I think we're very open to have that conversation.
Oh, fantastic.
Something that we didn't mention, there's quite a growth in the nut industry in South Africa.
Yes.
Do you guys do nuts at all?
We do almonds.
Okay.
We do have pistachios as well. It's not, we don't have a lot of different varieties, but we do have varieties, and walnuts too.
Okay, so it's quite a range of nuts.
So we do have a range of nuts. The almond industry has grown, I think since a few years back, they've grown quite a lot. So we have a new almond that it's in quarantine still, but so unfortunately we'll have to wait another year and a half, but then hopefully we'll have the plant material. And then we have 2 new pistachios as well.
Is pistachios growing? Obviously they're growing, but is the industry growing in South Africa? Because if you look at California, it's huge there, and it's very similar.
It's still very small in South Africa, but there's definitely growth.
Is there interest in it?
Yes, there's interest in it.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yes. So
Well, you said in the beginning, we wonder if we're at an hour already, so we can start wrapping up.
yes.
And I forgot my book with my questions in. I knew there was something I forgot. In fact,
So we have a closing tradition, and maybe I'll just take this one.
Yeah,
from
go for
here. It's normally a random question we ask the previous person for the next person, and they don't know who it's going to be, and we also don't necessarily know who asked the question, but it's just fun to have like a bit of a curveball. And the one that we had quite recently was, what is the last photo that you have on your cell phone or on your camera, and why did you take the picture?
Can I look?
You can look, or you can just remember, whichever.
Well, it's normally one of 2 things. Normally it's
it's an apple.
it will be something, it will be apple or plant related, or it will be my son. So. And
Yeah.
it's actually sunflowers.
There you go. Look how beautiful and
So-
beautiful and fresh that looks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's
it's just
cute.
it's an opportunity to bring out your passion, and there they both were.
So,
So thank you very, very much for joining us and for being our guinea pig with our new podcast set. And we really appreciate you joining us here today.
It's going to
So
get
thanks very
refined, so
much.
not a lot of cables laying around, but we'll figure it out.
no, it looks very high tech.
Thanks very much, Elsa.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
It was really
Elsa.
great. Thanks.
Okay.
Right.